These are cases that have haunted families, law enforcement, and even the public for years. What happened to these individuals? Were they victims of something sinister, or is there something far darker at play? Stay tuned as we uncover the truth, or lack thereof, behind these unsettling disappearances. There are moments when we can't escape the mystery of the unknown. People vanish without a trace, and the questions surrounding their disappearances remain unsolved forever. Our first story takes us back to the summer of 1975, when a man known for his controversial ties to labor unions disappeared under mysterious circumstances. A figure larger than life, his disappearance has been one of the most well-known unsolved cases in American history. James Riddle Hoffa, or Jimmy Hoffa, was a powerful figure in the American labor movement. He led the Teamsters, one of the largest and most influential labor unions in the country. But Hoffa's connections to organized crime, coupled with his infamous disappearance, have kept the public on edge for nearly 50 years. On July 30th, 1975, Hoffa was last seen outside the Machus Red Fox, a restaurant in Bloomfield Township, Michigan. He had arranged a meeting with two mafia bosses, Anthony Tony Jack Giacalone and Anthony Tony Pro Provenzano. Hoffa entered the restaurant, but he was never seen again. Despite extensive investigations, no trace of Hoffa was found. Rumors swirled that he was murdered by the mafia, his body disposed of in ways too grisly to imagine. Others speculated he had been buried in a concrete slab beneath Giants Stadium in New Jersey, or perhaps dumped in a nearby lake. But with no solid evidence, Hoffa's fate remains one of the greatest mysteries of the 20th century. The mystery of Jimmy Hoffa's disappearance continues to haunt us. Was he killed by those he trusted, or did he simply vanish, never to be found again? No one knows. Our next case takes us to a small town in West Virginia, where a family tragedy became something far darker than anyone could have imagined. On Christmas Eve 1945, a fire broke out at the Sauter family home in Fayetteville, West Virginia. The fire destroyed the house and claimed the lives of 5 of the Sauter children. But when firefighters arrived at the scene, they found no bodies. George and Jenny Sauter had 10 children. On that night, 5 of them, Martha, Maurice, Louis, Jenny, and Betty, were asleep in their upstairs bedrooms when the fire started. The fire spread rapidly, but what's strange is that there were no remains found, no bones, no teeth. It was as though the children had simply vanished into thin air. Despite the fire department's report stating the fire had likely been accidental, George Sauter didn't buy it. He believed that his children were taken, not killed in the blaze. The family received several mysterious phone calls in the days leading up to the fire, and witnesses reported seeing a group of men near the Sauter house. Some even claimed to have seen a car parked near the property earlier that day. George and Jenny launched their own investigation, which led to even more bizarre discoveries. A few years after the fire, the family received a photo of a man resembling their missing son, Louis, and a letter suggesting that their children were alive and being held captive. Despite these leads, no one has ever been able to solve the mystery of what happened to the Sauter children. The fate of the Sauter children remains unknown. Did they survive the fire? Were they kidnapped and held for ransom? Or is the answer even more sinister? To this day, the case remains one of America's most unsettling disappearances. Our next story brings us to a college campus, where a promising young man disappeared in what some consider one of the most puzzling vanishings of the 21st century. On April 1st, 2006, Brian Schaffer, a 27-year-old medical student at Ohio State University, was last seen at a bar called the Ugly Tuna Saloon. What makes this case so baffling is that Brian was caught on camera, but he seemed to vanish into thin air. Brian had been out with friends, celebrating the beginning of spring break. At 1:55 a.m., he was seen on security footage walking through the bar and then going toward a set of stairs leading to the exit. However, no one ever saw him leave. No one ever heard from him again. The police reviewed the surveillance footage and discovered something strange. Brian is seen walking into a hallway, but he's never seen leaving. Despite an extensive search, no one could find a trace of him. It was as though he had simply disappeared into the night. In the years following Brian's disappearance, theories have abounded. Some speculate he might have fallen victim to foul play, while others believe he could have gone into hiding or met with an accident. However, the complete absence of evidence makes it almost impossible to know what happened to him. Brian's family continues to search for answers, but the case remains unsolved. Where did Brian Schaffer go that night? Why does the security footage show him walking down the hallway? And then, nothing. No discussion of unexplained disappearances would be complete without the infamous case of D.B. Cooper, an identity that still remains a mystery to this day. On November 24, 1971, a man calling himself D.B. Cooper hijacked a Northwest Orient Airlines flight from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington. After securing $200,000 in ransom and demanding a parachute, Cooper leapt from the plane mid-flight over the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest. He was never seen again. Despite an extensive manhunt and one of the longest investigations in FBI history, no sign of Cooper was ever found, and his true identity remains a mystery. In 1980, a portion of the ransom money was found along the Columbia River, but D.B. Cooper's fate remained unknown. Some believe he died after the jump. Others think he got away with the money. Whoever he was, D.B. Cooper remains the only unsolved hijacking in U.S. history. Was D.B. Cooper an experienced criminal mastermind, or was he an amateur who met a tragic end in the wilderness? One thing is certain: his disappearance remains one of the greatest mysteries in American criminal history. Next, we travel to the vast, desolate landscapes of West Texas, where a man named Brandon Lawson disappeared without a trace. In the early hours of August 9th, 2013, Brandon called 911 in a panic, reporting that he had run out of gas on a rural highway near San Angelo. This call would become the last trace of Brandon Lawson. In his 911 call, Brandon seemed frantic and confused. He told the dispatcher that someone was chasing him. He mentioned that he was near a place called Grape Creek and was in a secluded area. The call cut out abruptly, and when authorities arrived at the scene, they found Brandon's truck, but no sign of him. His cell phone was found near a roadside. However, there were no tire tracks or signs that anyone had walked away. The most perplexing part of the case was a second 911 call made shortly after the first one. Brandon's brother, Brad Lawson, claims that he heard Brandon in the background of the second call, sounding disoriented, but no one could ever confirm who made the second call. There were theories about Brandon possibly being involved in some sort of drug deal gone wrong, but nothing concrete was ever found. Despite an exhaustive search, no trace of Brandon was ever discovered. His disappearance remains shrouded in mystery, with speculation that foul play, a personal dispute, or even a mental health breakdown could have been involved. The disappearances of Jimmy Hoffa, the Sauter children, Brian Schaffer, D.B. Cooper, and Brandon Lawson remind us that sometimes the truth is more elusive than we can comprehend. Each of these cases is a chilling reminder that there are some mysteries that may never be solved. As we close this chapter, remember that the unknown can be far more terrifying than anything we might imagine. Who knows what other stories of unexplained disappearances lie just beyond the horizon, waiting to be uncovered. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that keep you up at night. Until next time, stay safe and remember, sometimes the truth is stranger and darker than fiction.